Here are the top 3 things that I learned our first year of homeschooling. First and most importantly is distinguishing the difference between mom and teacher. A homeschool mentor and friend of mine who graduated to very well-adjusted members of society told me that the most important thing I can do is to differentiate between those two people. When we pulled my oldest from public school, we started off by creating a routine inside of our home. So, we had rituals and things that we'd kind of done just, by default throughout being his parent. But whenever we pulled him at home, we really needed to define this is what home time looks like. So I made this little guy based off of something I'd seen on Pinterest, and I laminated it so that we could mark it off every day. In the morning, we go potty, we clean the room, we get dressed, brush hair, eat breakfast, brush teeth, do school. Nighttime, clean up playroom, take a bath, pajamas, brush teeth, go potty, water, bedtime stories. This is the framework for our day. When you wake up, you do this. Before you go to bed, you do this. And it created some really good consistency and healthy habits within our home. I could tell very early on after bringing him home that it was a good choice, just emotionally and physically for his well-being, to create that consistency, to eliminate the rush of getting out the door in the morning and of doing our homework at night before bed. It gave us a lot of flexibility and freedom. The next thing that we did in order to establish that home life piece is they had to come to us when we called their name the first time. It was not something that we had established over the course of their childhood. We would call their name and sometimes they would come right away. Sometimes we'd have to call their name 3 or 4 times before they would actually come to us. And I would chalk it up to, oh, they probably can't hear me. Oh, they were in the middle of doing something and their mind's working. I need to go in there and I actually need to physically remove them from what it is that they're doing. Turns out they could hear me. They were just making the choice not to come. The reason why this is important is because when I call their name, typically it's to do something important. It's to get started on a routine. It's to eat dinner. It's to clean up some sort of mess. It's to get ready to go out the door. I needed them to respect whenever I said their name to come to me. I did it a little bit like Pavlov's dogs. And I love my children, and by no means am I trying to work science experiments on them, but I gave them a Smartie. Every time they came to me, I would, I'd call their name, they'd come straight to me, I'd give them a Smartie, tell them how great they are, I'm so proud of you for coming right to me, here's what we're going to do. Sometimes I would do it just for kicks and giggles, sometimes I would do it and actually have something that I needed them to complete. But over time, I started slowly not giving them the Smarties. It would just be occasionally, and now typically whenever I call their name, they come the first time. It has been probably the best parenting advice I had ever gotten. Renee really knocked it out of the park on that one. I didn't think it would be as important as what it was until after I experienced the difference between having the frustration, hey, it's time to come. I need you to come here. What are you doing? Come to me. We've got to finish this. It just would escalate really quickly. And now when they obey right away, they're satisfied because I'm not nagging them to do something. I'm satisfied because I'm not having to nag them to get ready or to do something while I am simultaneously getting ready for the same thing. Overall, it created a really nice environment at home for them to obey right away. A way that it backfired, and I think it's hilarious, is that we were in a store one day and my youngest started sneaking around the corner, and all of a sudden I hear, Mom, I'm over here. And I looked over and I realized he wanted me to call his name so that I could give him a Smartie. So we had to have a conversation around, we're not going to purposefully disobey so that we can get a reward. I called his name, he came to me, and I did not give him a Smartie because I'm not rewarding bad behavior, and that's not ideal. But once he understood what the parameters of that reward system was, he gave in pretty quickly. I haven't had to go back to it a lot. Sometimes if I feel like we're kind of slipping in that department, I'll go back to all right, here's a little mini M&M for you obeying right away. And that works out really great. But anyway, that was definitely one of the best pieces of advice that I had gotten. Another reason why differentiating between the two. So I talked a lot about our home life. I didn't talk a lot about why having a specific role as a teacher is important. Couple of reasons. I've taken notes, so I'm going to look down. you're creating clear boundaries around the two different settings. We have our home setting, we have our school setting, all inside of the same environment. It gives me clarity around what it is that I need to be doing. There's structure, there's organization, there's certain discipline standards within our classroom. There's structure, organization, and discipline standards in our home environment. Our home environment obviously is going to be more relaxed. I want them to see me as a mom who is supportive and nurturing and giving them that relaxed environment that they need to thrive whenever they're at home. But I also need them to see that I'm very serious about their education, and I'm very serious about helping them develop a love for lifelong learning. Another thing that it does is it role models the ability to switch between different roles. None of us are only one thing across all of the different facets of our lives. If I see anything online, I'm hearing I have this hat and this hat and this hat, I'm trying to effectively model I can be a mom and get things done, and I can also be your teacher and get things done from this perspective. And I know when I need to shut off teacher mode and go into mom mode. I know when I need to shut off mom mode and hold you to the standards that a teacher would hold you to. I think that's a really important piece of teaching them, is by role playing, about being the person that they can model themselves after. Additionally, it provides consistency and it helps you avoid burnout. If you were to lean into the teacher role 24/7 inside of your home, you are going to burn out. Your children are going to be burnt out on you. And vice versa. If I were to just sit down with my children and only be mom, someone's at my front door. If I were to sit down with my children and only be mom all the time, there are going to be things that we are not doing within our school that need to be done. If I am only teacher all the time, they're going to get really tired of me trying to make everything educational. While so many homeschool moms will say, like, everything is learning, it's like everything is content. Eventually, you don't want to create content about everything that's happening in your life. You don't want everything to be an educational opportunity. You just want to relax and be home and be with your family. So making the distinction between those two things are really important. Second on my list is you don't have to follow the public school calendar. And I feel like this is the most captain obvious of them all. Everybody talks about how I don't have to follow the public school calendar. I don't have to follow the public school curriculum. There are benefits to following the public school calendar. If your children are friends with folks who are in public schools, then following the public school calendar gives your kids an opportunity to go learn and play with their friends during the summer and during those fall breaks. I am also not the homeschool mom that's going to completely avoid public spaces when the public school is on a break. I just don't think that's fair to my kids. They know and they enjoy time with their public school friends in the community, and I want to give them the opportunity to see what it's like to be at the library when it's really busy and to be at the library when it's not busy at all. It's not just about my comfort as a member of this society. It's about making sure that my children know and understand what it's like to be in our community when people are there and when people are not there. So we're going to take advantage of both of those things. The reason why I mention you don't have to follow the public school calendar is because I did it pretty religiously last year. My youngest was at a Mother's Day Out program that followed the calendar. My oldest was obviously at home, and he was on the calendar before. We just stuck to it because it made the most amount of sense for our family at the time. As the year went on, we had to adjust, and I had to give myself grace. I had to tell myself, you don't have to follow their calendar. You can take a break on a Wednesday and it's gonna be okay. You can maybe pick up and do the work on Saturday instead. My husband and I share responsibilities whenever it comes to teaching. He teaches 2 days a week. I teach 3 days per week. We have non-traditional work schedules, and so we try our best to remain within a more traditional, Monday through Friday calendar for the kids. But if for some reason we have to do work outside of that, school work outside of that, it's really okay. The reason why I'm so passionate about you don't have to follow the public school calendar right now is because as I was looking at what learning looks like this fall, we're in Tennessee. It's really hot outside right now. Technically it's summer break, but there are some days that the boys love to go outside and play in the hot weather. There are some days that they'd rather just be inside all day. I do not see why I have to spend 12 weeks of our summer just letting my kids veg out in front of a TV or playing outside in the hot sun. There are more options than that. So what we've decided to do is to start school in July and then take more breaks in the fall, which is when we typically go camping and do family things like that. My husband and I are not lovers of hot weather. We will tolerate it if we have to, but if we had the choice, I would rather go to the beach a little bit later in the summer, early fall, and then I'd like to take more, fall-ish, vacations. Like we like going down to Blue Ridge, Georgia and enjoying all of the leaves changing. I want to chase those things. I want to be able to say, all right, let's pick up and let's go to Vermont and let's look at all of the leaves changing. We can make it educational if we wanted to, but more than anything, it's just a fun adventure that we can go on for our family. So the earlier I can start school, the easier it is for me to accomplish what needs to be accomplished so that I'm compliant with state standards. The last thing is that time management skills are taught by them pushing boundaries. One of the biggest issues that we had with my oldest in public school was that he evidently was not completing his work in the amount of time that the teacher was allotting for the work to be done. I have lots of thoughts and feelings on why that work was not being completed, but at the end of the day, he did not have to complete the work to start the next day with new work. I am not okay with that. We've set some pretty distinct boundaries around what schoolwork looks like in a day, and we've kind of related it to technology. So I am not an ascriber to the idea that they should not have technology throughout their week. The world is filled with technology. My job is almost exclusively, tech use, DocuSign, AuthentiSign, the MLS system, using my cell phone every single day. The world is filled with technology, and if I avoid teaching them how to appropriately use it throughout their school career, then they're gonna have problems appropriately using it whenever, they go into adulthood. So our parameters are, you have to have your chores done, you have to have schoolwork completed, and it has to be at least 2:30 in the afternoon before they can watch their allotted amount of TV or play on whatever devices they want to play on. It has been really helpful. There were days that it was 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, you're not going to be able to play on your tablet because you didn't complete your schoolwork. You can either complete your schoolwork now so that you have the ability to play on that tablet, or you can just wait until tomorrow morning and we'll pick up where you left off. We're always picking up where we left off. It's another piece of the process that's so nice is that, if he's struggling one day in math, I can say, you know what, today's lesson, we're gonna cut that into 2 parts. We're gonna do a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow. I want him to know that you can take breaks when trying to complete a project, but I want him also to know that the breaks need to be appropriate to the standard that's being set before him, and that if he is having trouble completing the project, we either need to rest, we need to ask for help, or we need to kind of set that emotional piece aside and dig our feet into completing the project so that we can move on to the next thing. Lots of great life skills that get taught within the homeschool classroom. I would love to know your feedback. What did you learn your first year of homeschooling? What are you concerned about as you are going into your homeschool year if you're choosing to homeschool this year? I'm going to do a little video on what it is that I've selected for curriculum for our second year of homeschooling, some of the mistakes I made the first year, and then the choices that I've made this year. I'm about to actually go through and set up for our first week of homeschooling that starts next week, and I'll bring you along with me on that. Leave a comment below. I want to hear what it is that you're doing. I love the homeschool community online, and I cannot wait to share and learn more things with you. Have a great day.